address the issue of homelessness and to try and eradicate it long term, we need a combination of somewhere that people can sleep, that they can then call a home. We need to combine that with strong relationships, a sense of community and occupation, so something where people can go and work, whether it's voluntarily for an income or whether it's anywhere, just occupation. So if there was that answer, do you think that would help?
I'm going to go to the third question, which the gentleman's waited a very long time by the post there, and then I'm going to take the last couple, and I'm going to ask you whether we're going to answer those questions quickly by a couple of people, if that's okay, rather than everyone, and then I'll take the last few questions from the floor and we'll wrap it up. Thank you, sir.
Oh, hi. I sell the big issue a little bit now and again, and I just wanted to say I think what most people have on their mind is they think that a well-adjusted person will make a relationship and buy a house, you know. And I think if there's anything that kind of goes away from that, people feel as if they're failing. So that's really the thing to work to. And I also, you know, that's the only thing that really should be worked towards, I think. And I think for a lot of people that are mentally unwell and everybody's seeking mental health for everybody, I think that's a little bit arrogant, actually, because every human being is different. We all have our ups and downs, and I don't think any of us really can fully say what mental health is or is not. But if we can work to the ideal of actually allowing someone to get a property for themselves as a well-adjusted individual, or that will adjust them, then I think that's the answer, because obviously something went wrong in the political history over the last 50 years that reduced people's options to become part of that. And to me, the key is to get people to become part of that once again. And anything else in the meantime, really, is rubbish.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to take two or three desperate hands. Oh, I knew all of you. Okay, I know Jeremy asked a moment ago, so I'll go to Mick and Jenny this time, and then next time the others of you get your final slot after the next questions. Go, Jeremy.
I'm next, am I? Oh, good.
Go on.
I think you're right about the need for interpersonal skills to be developed, but many organisations do have programmes where they get people together to learn to work together, team building exercises, volunteering together as a peer support group. All those things do happen. So there is some of it around, and there needs to be more of it. I entirely accept that.
But that's in school because they're where you learn. I mean,
it happens. It does happen. Yeah, it does happen. I mean, I've got two kids who've just left school. Actually, they do quite a lot of that work there. I'm not saying it shouldn't be given more attention, but I don't think it's right either to say that none of that has been thought of. It certainly is, and then that goes through to all of us. Will have some examples of peer support programs and helping people to work as a team, often as a route to getting a job, because those skills are really important, aren't they? I think I share some of your fears about the benefit system. I'm reluctant to say the benefit system benefits should be reduced, but we're so good, aren't we, in the sector, knowing what the out-of-work benefits are for people who are homeless. And we're not quite so good at helping people get those in-work benefits, but we do need a tilt in the system to incentivise people to get into work, I think, more easily. And I'm a big fan of well-being. My problem is that you say a homeless person, there's going to be a part of their day when they're going to feel down. There's a part of everybody's day when they're going to be down. So in the end, it's becoming a bit too...
I'm saying that for every human being, there's an issue of well-being.
Yes.
Because at any time that can change from being a bad day to being a bad week to being a bad year.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be on the street to have mental health issues.
Actually, let's leave it there. I agree with that, actually, because that isn't what we started off by. We're categorising people as having mental health problems. We seem to have moved so far from that. Can I just say that I just wanted to agree with John on something?
Yeah. Oh, go, do.
Which is that I think that people who are home... we asked people at Thames Reach what services they'd like, the homeless people we work with. One of the things they kept coming up with was they wanted what they 15 years ago were calling the Lonely Hearts Club, and now they talk about it in slightly different terms. That really they want to find a way of building up relationships, finding a way of meeting people, and actually, cutting to the chase, they would like to have sexual relationships as well, because lo and behold, they're rather like the rest of us. And I think that only the best workers can find a way of helping people take up those opportunities. And I do think it's an area we have to take far more seriously. So I think sexual relationships are a good thing. I just want to put that on record.
That's why we need more volunteers.
Can I just say that I don't always agree with you?
Okay, Mick, thank you.
That's the best lead-in I've ever had. That's fantastic. Two very quick points. First one around benefits. Point made about benefits. I agree. I think that employment is just such a fantastic route. This sounds bleedingly obvious, but employment for some homeless people is a fantastic route out of their homelessness. And more organisations and more companies and more businesses should take more chances in terms of that and actually test that out. And the other point I'd make on that is some people are really shocked about the passage that we actually charge for food. I think it's really important that we do. If you arrive at the passage and you're not in receipt of benefits, we will provide you with free food, but it's conditional because once you've got a full belly, we work with you to get you in receipt of benefits. And once we've got you in receipt of benefits, we will charge you 50p, whatever it is, for food. And it's about respect. And sorry if this offends anyone, but saying actually you're not a charity case. And secondly, it's about the real world. And it's about looking at when you're back in society and you're taking your first step out of homelessness, hopefully when you walk into our day centre, you are going to have to pay your way. You are going to have to contribute. So why pretend? Let's look at actually things as they are. And the final point I make is around community stuff. I think we've lost that sense of community. I lived in Spain for a year. Louise Casey would have loved it because, you know, there wouldn't have to be any ASBOs or anything because they haven't lost their streets. People would, in the summer, would sit out in the front and people in the community knew what was happening in the community, not in a bad way, but they had a sense of community. And it's about how we actually get that back. We need to be really careful, though, because I know the Conservative, I nearly said government there, how spooky was that? But the Conservative Party are looking, they have very strong plans around community. And Charles Fraser made a very good point a little while ago about how when you give powers to communities, they might start saying, well, we're not going to have that hostel there or that place for homeless people. So we just need to get the balance. But that sense of communities and not making the link between community and sex, but between community and volunteers is key. So get involved. Everyone has a chance to actually play a role in their volunteers. So was that a bit naff at the end? Sorry.
It's okay, Jenny, quickly.
Yeah, I just think, you know, human beings are strange beings, really. And we have these minds full of words and thoughts, and they tell us all sorts of things all the time. That's the nature of being human. And a lot of what we've been talking about is actually that those thoughts can be, oh, you're rubbish, you never do it, I'm useless at this, which we all get every day about all sorts of things that we failed at doing. Oh my God, I had another piece of chocolate today, you know. But also our thoughts will tell us really good things, and that having a job, not being dependent, being a volunteer, being of worth to others, doing something worthwhile, being connected, having somebody you care about who cares about you. Those are all the things that can be much louder in our heads than the other things. And that actually that's what gives us resilience when tough things happen to us in our life. That's losing somebody we love, or losing a job, or losing a home. And it's not very complicated to change that. It's finding the things that people will be valued for and will value themselves for. And that can be a musician, it can be a cook, it can be a volunteer, it can be just somebody who other people care for. And so we can all do it.
Fiona, sitting patiently on the end.
I think your dream package is right, but I think there is something missing, and that's a place for someone in the community where they're welcomed, a place where they contribute, but also that they're valued. And I think that's the hard bit at the end of that journey. I think the other thing about benefits, and just to be really boring and perhaps sort of towards the end, to say, when I started working in housing associations 30 years ago, people started talking to me about housing benefit tapers. And why was it that benefit systems didn't reward people for trying to go into employment, and that they, you know, in areas with high rents, which they were even then, but much, much worse now in London, and for people who could only probably attract low wages, they were never, ever going to be able to get out of that poverty trap.